to be here with you all today. I've been traveling a lot, going to a number of conventions and, of course, industry events, and it's been a fun ride. I've got to meet a lot of interesting people that I'm really excited, especially a lot of the women that I've got to meet over the last couple weeks, bringing them on the show. Not even just especially we're at Manifest, right? Not just technology companies, but there's a number of shippers and a number of carriers that we got an opportunity to talk with. So excited to bring them on here in the next couple of weeks. But until then, is the first episode of us, or just the second episode, I guess at this point, because Kayla did sneak it in last week, of us in February. And for everyone out there, we all know that it is Black History Month. So I figured, why not start off, and we're going to work on actually for all the episodes from this month, highlighting amazing Black women in our industry who are doing incredible things, from entry-level positions all the way up to executive level as well. So I've got 3 for you today that I figure we'd start off with, and then we'll get to our special guest, an actual insider here at FreightWaves as well, for you all to meet too. First one, of course, is going to be someone that Kaylee and I both got to meet at the Women in Trucking conference in Dallas. This last year has gone by so fast. So many events. And that was Kendra Tucker. Now, I believe that we've had her on a number of industry events, or a number of FreightWaves events, virtual as well. She is the CEO now of truckstop.com. You guys all know, if you see any of my writing, I'm a huge Truckstop fan. When I was in the brokerage world, used Truckstop, leveraged Truckstop, of course, to run brokerages and find carriers and open up our networks. So happy to see that she took charge. Now, I'd really suggest everyone go and connect with Kendra on LinkedIn. Go check out her profile, because what's also interesting about Kendra is that she comes also from in the investment space, working with Vista in the past. And what's interesting, right, is that's even an area that we're looking to promote and bring more women of color into as well. And throughout this month too, and the next following months as well, we're hoping to bring on more women of color, Latinx, and Asian women as well, to, of course, give them a platform to speak on. So Kendra is one in particular that it's absolutely great. Hopefully we'll have her on the show soon. I believe we've had her over a year ago. If not, I think it was one of our in-person events. But she's really friendly, really nice, and of course very intelligent when it comes to this industry, but more so the technology and bringing this industry forward in the technology it's existing right now. So shout out to Kendra. Go check her out on LinkedIn. The second woman in transportation, I think a lot of people know this one. She's been in the industry for a while. You have Ramona Hood. She's the president and CEO of FedEx Custom Critical. Now, I actually got a short conversation as she was leaving Manifest this past week, but she is very friendly and has won numerous awards in the past, especially at Women in Trucking. I believe the first Women in Trucking event I went to, she got their big grand award as well. So she's doing really amazing things, has worked her way up at FedEx as well. And I think that's a really interesting story to see. Go check her out on LinkedIn too. These are all people that you want to connect with. They're really great, of course, in the networking arena when it comes to supply chain management. So go see what she's done to, of course, work her way up at FedEx to the position that she's at today. And that is a huge area of FedEx as well that she's managing. So shout out to her. Last but definitely not least is a person I actually met through a number of different contacts in Instagram as well. And I figured I got to highlight her. She's hilarious on Instagram, but she's about getting the work done and really improving the sector for carriers as well. Her name is Kelsey Scott. Now, she's the founder of Legacy Trucking Consulting. Now, a really quick background story on Kelsey. She actually started her company when she was 36 weeks pregnant. 36 months pregnant. Can you imagine? Yikes. No. And so the fact that she was able to, of course, step aside from her work and focus not only on just building her company, but starting a family as well. It's a lot of the content that she actually creates. It's how she manages both her family, both growing the business with her husband, and of course, making sure that carriers are compliant in all ways possible. And she makes really funny content. If we can show one of her reels real quick, it's pretty clever stuff.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
And that's like a very small portion. She does videos just like that, but she also gives out tips and tricks for everyone as well. So go check her out. We'll put up her Instagram name really quick. I believe it's Mrs. Scott is Scott is official, and that'll get you to her too. She's got some really great stuff, and I'd highly recommend if you're a newer carrier or you don't have your paperwork in order. That's basically what she preaches all day. So she was definitely there to help you and guide you through those situations. And like I said, it's just the Black History Month. So hopefully Kaylee and I can start to recognize even more women in this industry who are stepping up to the plate and not just, of course, leading our industry through huge initiatives like we see at Truck Stop and FedEx, but people like Kelsey as well, who's helping spread more equity into different communities, minority communities in particular, that we actually need to sustain this industry. Talking about Manifest, that was one of the biggest topics that we talked about. And it's not just sustainability in regards to, of course, the environment, but the sustainability of the large networks and the large supply chains that we're creating. That's going to take people, and it's going to take people that haven't been a part of our industry in the past. So shout out to people like Kelsey, who's working to make sure that this environment is not only ready, but prepared to help these individuals create large companies, grow their companies, and at the end of the day, create a successful wealth and a lineage for their families as well. I think that's what's really incredible. Now, we're going to move into, of course, our guests for today. And we've brought on a couple of guests in the past before that have been with the FreightWaves team. And it's funny, when I do go to conferences, I think they see people like me and Kaylee, Thomas, Mary, right? We're the ones on the cameras, but I always stress to people, like, there are so many individuals that you don't see on camera that are contributing to the work that we do and make us all successful. I mean, shout out to all of the editors. I am not a professional journalist. I will never say that I'm always grammatically correct, because I'm probably the opposite. But that's because of our amazing editors out there who help us and guide us. And today, I want to introduce you to one in particular who's just recently started working with us this last year. Her name is Brielle Jaekel. She's the deputy editor for FreightWaves. Brielle, thank you so much for coming on the show. When you first started, we talked about doing this, and now we're finally getting to this. So happy to have you on.
Thank you for having me, and I love that you said my name right.
No, it's to be honest with you, it's whenever I bring on new people and last names, I always run them through generators to hear them back. So I did prep myself. It wasn't just on accident.
Thank you.
It's a tough one. It was. I will say, I went to start this and I go, you know what? I just know you from your first name. So it's funny you say that too. Now, Brielle, you're really interesting because you're someone that we've brought on who actually has a lot of industry experience, especially in the editing content side of things. Can you tell our audience a little bit about your career and what's got you to FreightWaves today?
Well, I have a whole history. I'm like a jack of all trades, I guess, because I started in broadcasting, for TV kind of broadcasting. And then my internship went to CNBC. So from there, I kind of kept in the business to business area because people saw CNBC and thought the finance channel. So I continued on with that. I ended up loving it and ended up in the supply chain of February 2020. So about 1 month before everything went crazy. So I really was thrown into it. And I covered, 3PLs, all that stuff at a magazine specifically for 2 years before I came here. But I've been in journalism since 2012, B2B specifically since, I think, for 7 years now it's been.
Yeah, it's funny. I did see CNBC on there too, and I was like, oh, look at this like little analyst right here. But it's I think that's, you're right. People see that and immediately think markets and all that. But what's really cool, right, about supply chain is you almost get to dive in head first, right? You have to be up to date with kind of what CNBC is reporting on in order to truly understand a lot of what we write about as well. For you, what are some of your favorite markets or sectors, chains, let's say, of the supply chain that interest you the most?
Well, I'm really interested in kind of sustainability across the whole board. So, not a specific market for me. It's really just kind of, every um, how every market can work on their sustainability. But I also think we talk a lot about trucking, and I do like 3PLs and cold storage because that's a little bit of my background. But I just find air freight and ocean freight fascinating as well, and that's like another area where we can really help with sustainability. So that's another reason why I'm kind of drawn to those areas.
I totally agree. I come from the brokerage side, and then when it comes to basically what happened before it got to the port, I even have a little bit of drayage, but like even that knowledge is spare. So I agree. I think the ocean side of things, especially the globalization aspect, right, of just the last like 20, 30 years, and the fact that like the trucking side, someone like C.H. Robinson writes, it's been 100 years of trucking, but no one has had that deep rooted type of business when it comes to more of the global shipping as well. So there's so much to learn and so much more to kind of observe before we truly can like understand how everything moves. But then it's like, this is a perfect example, right? You have something like geopolitical issues like we see with Russia, and then everything's just a total disarray. So it is like constantly changing, and I feel like sometimes global shipping, you just start to understand it, and it just throws you a curveball completely. So that's supply chain, I guess, at this point. If you could kind of like step out of your role and dedicate yourself or go back to school and learn about certain areas, would it be that the global supply chain more, or is there other areas that interest you, maybe niches, for example, that you would take time to study?
I would definitely focus on reshoring and sustainability. Those are my two things that I think we need to focus on personally. That's my opinion, is I would like to see more of that in the supply chain. So I would 100%, if I could go back to school and kind of dive more into that. So now I kind of lean towards that in my just kind of thirst for knowledge. I'm always reading about what's going on in sustainability and reshoring, especially now that greenwashing is such a big, I guess, problem. It's so widespread. I like to, you have to really, really get in and dive into what's actually happening, because so many people are like, yes, we're doing this. We've got rid of paper. We're green, so it's really getting into that, into the deep minutia part of it that I'm interested in.
Yeah, like carbon credits, right? Really interests me. Like, how exactly is that working? How does that? What's the true like actual effect it's having? It's really
Right.
this came up at Manifest, right? Like, this stuff is so new. I don't think even the people, honestly, who are reporting on that in depth have true idea of like what the long-term outcome is of some of our own sustainability initiatives. And then you see small things like planting trees or reforestation or things like that, right? Where it's like, okay, let's see if all this will help out in the long run. And I think what's really cool is, I mean, it is kind of negative, right? Is that we do have the biggest footprint of any industry out there. So we do have the biggest responsibility as well, which can make that tough too.
Right. I think that's why I'm drawn to it so much in the supply chain, because I do actually, before I was in the supply chain, I was working in the luxury area. So anything regarding luxury marketing, luxury retail, that business to business side is what I focused on. And so they talk about green initiatives a lot, and yeah, there was a lot of greenwashing, but then you realize like there's a whole back end side of it that the fashion brands can't even control. So that's like kind of another reason why I was drawn more to the supply chain, because it's like really like everything's connected to it. You can do as much green as you want, but if your supply chain isn't, what are you going to do?
100%. And it's stuff like fast fashion. I think as much as we kind of hate the trend for its footprint, like I do kind of love it for as a shopper who likes to stay up with trends as well. So it's like, if I have to be honest, like I'm still on Shein as much as possible. So it's like it's a double-sided a sword for sure.
Yeah,
Let's see. Yeah, go for it.
I just feel like it's less. I think the consumer has a responsibility. I agree, but my 4 shirts that I bought from Target last year, if I chose not to buy that, that's not making a huge impact. I really think it's the company's responsibility. I've always kind of believed that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I just flew Delta, and on Delta, right, I'll tell you like how many emissions is contributing to your flight, right? Like it'd be really great if we could get to that point where at least our the merchants that we are buying from can tell us like what we're doing, so we have a really good idea of more of our impact. And I agree, I think that's their responsibility at the end of the day. Here's an interesting question for you, and you've talked about this too, like you said, I saw a lot of your cold chain work in this arena as well. But if you had to start, and I'm sure our production team watching this loves this too, if you had to start a new FreightWaves podcast, what would it be about? And maybe title wise, if you can come off the top of your head, but what do you think you would focus your attention on with that?
History. Yeah, so I handle FreightWaves Classics, which is our history channel kind of segment on the website, and I love it because I find it really interesting. I just always love history, and I think I would. I think I had like a name playing around, but I can't think of it right now. But FreightWaves Classics, yeah. If I could bring classics to a podcast, I totally would.
Well, hey, and if we can keep the female name titles going, it could be like FreightWaves Herstory or something like that. That would be cool. Write that down, Todd. Yeah.
Focus on women in the supply chain of history. Let's do it.
Right. No, and it's funny that you bring that up because those are some of my favorite articles, and I actually try to, at least if not twice a week, once a week on Fridays, I will review one of those classics on the radio, because I just think it's like a cool, fun way to like end the week, right? So like look back and see where history has got us. So that work is definitely not going unnoticed, that's for sure. A question just for you personally. Did you always want to go into like journalism? Is this what pushed you to go into this field at the end of the day?
So truth be told, I'm a theater kid.
Yes. Yeah.
I went to performing arts high school. I had the dream of wanting to be a starving actress, but after community theater, I actually went to a performing arts high school, like all of that. It was just like really exhausting. And I realized I kind of wanted to do more broadcasting, TV, journalism side of things. And that's what I went to college for. And then that's where people told me that my writing was really strong. And I kind of just went with writing. But I still love any on-air thing. At my previous position, I was on air quite a bit, and I love it.
I love that. That's and we both, it's funny. Maybe we get into more of the reality TV side here at FreightWaves too, and we can bring that in, as we're both huge Bravo stans as well. So there's maybe ways to bring that all together. I love that. It's well, hey, on that route, what is your favorite? Are you more of like a Broadway? Are you more plays? What type? When you say theater girl, what type of theater are we talking about here?
Well, I was an actor. I can kind of sing. I cannot dance, so that really screwed me out of musical theater roles. Like I was in a lot of musical theater, but I never got like main roles because I'm just not great at dancing. I'm super clumsy. I have no rhythm. But I used to love musicals. Now I've steered more towards reality TV in my free time.
Yeah, exactly right. See, the thing is I love musicals. I think I could be in one, but the audience would not like the pitchiness. So it's all in the head. It's how you just picture yourself in there, right? Hey, in the shower, I'm the best singer that I've heard, so it works that way for me.
Oh,
Hey,
I'm the best shower singer there is.
yeah. Yeah, like I can hit all those same notes as Beyonce when no one's listening, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how I'm viewing all of this. For you, clearly this is a women-driven podcast show, and for you, and clearly, especially with your time at CNBC as well, how do you think women, I guess, can open up more and start to consider logistics and other fields within logistics and start to join the community that we're in? What would you say to maybe a woman who maybe did go to theater school or came from a different type of industry? Why should they consider logistics for a long-term career?
Well, first of all, I think everyone should look at logistics as a long term career because it's something that we're always going to have. It may change shape, it may change form, it may become a whole different type of ball game in the next 10, 20 years. But it's still always going to be here, and we need that kind of stability. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities here, and I love to see that women in STEM is really becoming a thing. And I think any kind of, technical technology career, women should totally look into and bring that kind of different thinking into it. Any kind of leadership role, and even driving, I think are great career options for women. We can do anything, and there's a spot for everyone everywhere. I agree, and I think if you have even kind of a little bit of interest in this area, you should totally look into it and just see what you can do because there's so many opportunities here.
I love that, and it's so true. It starts at such a grassroots level, right? I'm currently have a meeting when I get back to Michigan to meet with a troop leader and hopefully start doing some Girl Scout work as well, and just showcasing, yeah, I really want to bring Ingrid up, right, and have them check out her truck and. But even like air cargo and like just even a data analyst, right? There's so many different ways that you could enter this industry. And then at the end of it, right, journalism, that's a huge one too. It's interesting. I really like that you kind of showcase like the switch in your career because even for myself, like I went to school to become a lawyer and my friends that I went to school with now are like, what are you even doing with your life? like your life's insanely the opposite, but it works out. And you also contribute to like such a huge space that actually affects the end consumers. Right. And I think that's what's the most fun. So thank you for joining FreightWaves, and thank you, of course, for being a part of this. Where can people reach out to you if they want to learn more about you and your career as well?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Jaekel Brielle, and then also follow my classics columns or stories on FreightWaves.com. You can hit Discover and then FreightWaves Classics, and you'll see all of my history stuff there. I actually have an interesting true crime article coming up soon, so that should be fun.
Ooh, who doesn't like a nice little true crime drama? Love that. Love that. Well, thank you, Brielle. Thank you so much for coming on. I'll make sure I share that too on all of our links to this show so that you guys can check out those classics. And of course, for our audience, we'll have Kaylee back hopefully next week with us. And if you want some more content from me, there's a number of avenues you can head to. Of course, I'm on the radio, Sirius XM, every single day. The Road Dog Trucking Channel 146. 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be on tonight with Thomas Watson. I'm also family of FreightWaves, Blythe Brumley, as we talk about different marketing techniques and especially how to take steps after conferences to build your network as well. So go check that out. And if you have SiriusXM, you can also check out past episodes on demand too. Other than that, thank you everyone for checking us out. If you ever have someone or know a woman in transportation or logistics that would be incredible for the show, reach out to me me, gsharkey@freightwaves.com, and let's link them up. Until then, appreciate everyone watching the show. Appreciate the great feedback that we've gotten. Really means a lot to us over the last year, and 2023 is going to be just as fun as exciting as well. Hopefully we'll have more people on the screen like Brielle, like myself, to bring that content to you. So again, get prepared to see some really cool people on over the next couple of weeks. And of course, Kaylee and I will be back together again soon. Until then, everyone, enjoy your afternoons, and I'll talk to you later.
1, 2, 3.